I was the one who secretly loved Michael for 3 years. The one who pursued him relentlessly for a year. And, ultimately, the one who broke up with him to study abroad. On the day I left, his eyes were bloodshot as he said, "If you walk out that door, there's no coming back." I nodded and turned away without looking back. When I returned to campus before graduation, he was draped over his new girlfriend, flaunting their relationship like no one else existed. I pretended not to notice. But after the banquet ended, he chased me outside. Chapter 1. 2 years of exchange studies ended, and I returned to finalize my graduation. The day I landed, my advisor organized a welcome dinner and sent Ryan, our department's star researcher and the professor's golden boy, already publishing over a dozen SCI papers in his first Ph.D. year, to pick me up. The dinner was at a new riverside clubhouse with great ambience. I hadn't expected to run into familiar faces so soon. "Emily? No way. When did you get back?" Lucas gaped at me, grinning. Lucas and Michael were inseparable, wherever Lucas went. Michael wouldn't be far. I kept it brief with a polite smile. "Just landed." But Lucas insisted, dragging me toward their private room. "Come meet the crew. Everyone's here." Not one to make a scene. I agreed, 2 drinks. Max. I told Ryan I'd be back shortly and asked him to explain my delay to the group. He nodded, reaching for my bag. "Let me hold that for you." I handed it over without thinking, missing Lucas's odd glance. The private room erupted when Lucas shoved the door open, still blocking me from view. "Took you long enough, got a weak bladder or what?" He stepped aside dramatically. "Show some respect. My girl Emily's back from the UK." The room exploded into cheers, except for Michael, who stayed seated at the head of the table, silent. "Holy shit. Emily. Should have called me to pick you up. Damn. The British glow-up is real." I smiled through the mix of genuine warmth and thinly veiled jabs. "Just got in today. Good to see you all." Back when I'd chased Michael openly, his friends had egged me on. After we dated, I'd carried half these guys through finals. Things were complicated. My sudden breakup with Michael before leaving for the exchange program had shocked everyone, but it wasn't impulsive. Even without the overseas opportunity, we'd have ended. Lucas pulled out the chair next to Michael. I ignored it, taking an empty seat nearby. "Just dropping by to say hi. Need to catch up with my advisor soon." Michael finally spoke, voice icy. "Too busy for us mere mortals now." "Huh? Guess that's what happens when you're cultured." The room froze, eyes darting between us. Before I could respond, the door flew open. A girl rushed in, flinging herself into Michael's arms. "Traffic was awful. I'm so sorry I'm late." He wrapped an arm around her, shooting me a glance as she nuzzled his neck. The room watched me like vultures. Lucas cleared his throat. "So, you staying for good now? Exchange is done. Starting grad school here." I stood to leave, but the girl called out, "Emily?" I paused. Pretty face. Total stranger. "Aren't you the one who dumped Michael to study abroad?" The room collectively held its breath. Michael just stared, detached. I gently pushed the cup in front of me and smiled. "Don't get the wrong idea, Michael. Not some first love or ex-lover. Just an ordinary former boyfriend." Ignoring Michael's suddenly darkened expression, I stood up only to find Ryan approaching. "Emily, are you ready? Professor Chin needs to see you urgently." I raised my glass in farewell toast and left with Ryan. In our private dining room, senior lab members chattered around me while our advisor remained absent. A senior explained he was stuck in traffic. Ryan calmly poured me hot tea. "Thought you might feel awkward over there." When Professor Chin arrived 20 minutes later, he bombarded me with concerned questions about my overseas studies while others asked about my life in Britain. filling the room with lively chatter. After dinner, our advisor left to review research papers while considerate seniors cancel post-dinner plans due to my jet lag. I intended to take a taxi home but remembered my luggage was in Ryan's car. He offered to drive me directly. Returning from the restroom, I found Michael leaning against the corridor wall. His flushed face and glassy eyes made him resemble an abandoned golden retriever. "Emily, you've lost weight. Didn't you eat well in London?" "Perfectly fine," I replied while drying my hands. "Just adjusting to local cuisine." Meeting his watery gaze, I suggested, "You're drunk. Let Lucas take you home." He took unsteady steps toward me, voice trembling. "Since when do you care if I'm drunk?" "Emily." "Earlier Ryan's clear voice interrupted. "Ready to go?" Spotting Michael, he nodded at me. "I'll get the car." Holding my coat and purse, he turned to leave. "Ryan," I called, sidestepping Michael. "We're done here." Ryan handed me the coat. "It's windy." As I struggled with tangled hair caught in buttons during the walk, he deftly freed the strands. Behind us came Michael's angry snort. "Emily, are you dating him now?" Sighing internally at the second time our personal drama involved Ryan, I glanced apologetically at him. His gaze focused beyond me as he coolly asked Michael, "What right do you have to question her?" Michael froze, eyes reddening wordlessly. We left without further incident. In the car, I apologized. "Sorry for dragging you into this again, Ryan." "Not your fault," he said while adjusting the rearview mirror. Since freshman year, Ryan had guided me securing my spot in Professor Chen's lab through his recommendation when my skills were still lacking. He mentored me from an errand runner to a core researcher. During sophomore year, he urged me to apply for an exclusive exchange program, a single university-wide slot guaranteeing graduate admission upon return. Though doubtful, I dedicated every waking hour to lab work and thesis preparation. Michael often sulked about neglected dates, quietly opposing my potential departure. The final experiment night ended past midnight. Ryan walked me to the dorm where Michael waited. He accused us of an improper relationship despite explanations, punching Ryan twice. The next day, Ryan entered the lab with a bruised face, dismissing inquiries as an accidental injury while helping finalize my successful exchange application. "Will you reconcile with Michael?" Ryan's question pulled me from memories. Streetlights flickered across my palms until tunnel darkness swallowed all illumination, mirroring our extinguished relationship. "No. We walk different paths." "Any regrets?" After contemplation, I shook my head. "None. He's a good person. I made the right choices. We simply didn't fit." Ryan wasn't nosy and didn't pry further. He wheeled my luggage into the house where my mom insisted on offering him lemonade, urging him to stay for conversation. Not wanting to overstay our welcome, I grabbed a trash bag as an excuse to walk him out. His laughter echoed in the elevator lobby, trying to dispose of me along with the garbage. "Emily?" I widened my eyes in mock innocence. "Of course not. It's getting late and I didn't want to keep you." The elevator doors slid open, revealing that precise social distance Americans cherish: not too close, not too formal. His chuckle vibrated through the confined space. "Always the considerate one." My fingers tightened around the trash bag's drawstrings as digital floor numbers blinked. When the doors finally parted, I practically sprinted to the dumpster. He lingered by his Tesla, the orange glow of streetlights catching his smile. Summer night breezes carried the scent of jasmine from nearby gardens as we stood suspended in that Midwestern goodbye ritual, the prolonged farewell. "Emily." His voice softened. "I think we'd be compatible. Would you consider dating me?" My brain short-circuited. "You're serious about this, Ryan?" Moonlight revealed the earnest curve of his lips. "I'm respectfully pursuing what I want." Heat flooded my cheeks as I stared at my flamingo-printed slides. "I'll think about it," I managed. "Later." I found Mom rewatching baking tutorials with fresh bandages peeking under her pajamas. The soup warmer tipped last week, she admitted when I traced the angry scar. Ryan fixed it, already comes by the shop often. You know. My breath hitched. I'd only mentioned once in lab how Mom hated hiring repairmen. Lying awake, I mentally cataloged every interaction, how he'd quietly replaced our lab's fluorescent bulbs after hearing about my childhood handyman days. The way his Timberlands always appeared during lunch rushes at Mom's noodle shop. That time he jury-rigged our broken freezer with zip ties and sheer determination. My fingers brushed the childhood scar on my elbow from replacing our first broken water heater. Ryan's quiet consistency felt like finding the missing wrench in Dad's abandoned toolbox, the one he'd left when walking out with that red-lipped realtor. Mom's soft snores filled the room as I finally understood he'd been rebuilding what others broke. One repaired appliance at a time. Darkness enveloped the room as my thoughts wandered endlessly. Mom's voice suddenly pierced through. Emily, there's one more thing I need to tell you. I snapped back to attention. I'm listening. Last week your father mentioned wanting to reconcile. What do you think about that? I stayed silent for a long moment before hugging her tightly. This is your life, Mom. You shouldn't base your decisions on me. Sweetheart. I'll never abandon you no matter what happens. Just be true to yourself. Professor Wilson had given me 3 days off, which I spent helping at the family wonton shop. The night before returning to campus, I arranged dinner with Ryan. I owed him countless favors over these past 2 years that I couldn't begin to repay. At twilight, a familiar face entered the shop, the girl who'd clung to Michael in the private dining room that day. She ordered wonton soup and kept shooting me hesitant glances I pretended not to notice. After an hour, she finally approached. Emily, you remember me, right? Of course. I nodded while folding dumpling wrappers. How's the soup? Ignoring my question, she blurted out, Michael's hospitalized. Aren't you going to visit him? My hands paused momentarily before resuming their rhythm. Doctors exist for a reason. What good would my visit do? My indifference seemed to provoke her. You pursued him first. You ended things. He's waited 2 years for you. How can you be so heartless? Placing the final dumpling on the tray, I leaned against the counter. Would lingering attachments after breakup count as affection in your book? Her mouth opened and closed like a goldfish before she finally sighed. Just go see him. He really wants to. The sentence trailed off as she hurried out. I stared at the neatly arranged dumplings. Mind adrift. The next day's campus reunion with roommates and dorm cleanup passed in a blur. As dusk fell, I showered and dressed carefully for dinner with Ryan. Arriving 30 minutes early at the restaurant, I was studying the menu when Lucas called. Emily, could you come to the hospital? Silence stretched between us until Lucas sighed. He's all pride and stubbornness. No relationships these 2 years, just waiting. That day, he was testing if you still cared. Emily, I don't know why you split. It wasn't just about studying abroad. Love has no right answers. And I shouldn't meddle, but please come. High fever for days. Keeps murmuring your name in delirium. He's not doing well. The call ended as Ryan arrived, draping his coat over the chair. Waiting long? I shook my head, gathering courage. Ryan, would you accompany me to the hospital? There's unfinished business with Michael. I braced for refusal, but Ryan simply stood, coat in hand. Which hospital? My delayed response came, 9th General. Rain pattered against the car windows as we drove. Ryan's quiet presence felt heavier than usual. Summoning courage, I asked, are you upset about changing plans? Eyes on the road. He countered, why? Dinner plans ruined. Dragging you to see my ex. At a red light. Ryan turned with amused eyes shadowed in darkness. You brought me along, didn't you? Your instinctive transparency is respect enough. His half-smile momentarily dazzled me. With Ryan, some things needed no explanation. We found Michael propped up in his hospital bed, 4 drip attached. His haggard face twisted upon seeing me. Lucas called you? Mind your own business. Ignoring his temper, I poured a glass of water and handed it over. Hydrate before you keep yelling. Surprised that raspy voice still works. Michael. He snatched the glass awkwardly, draining it in one gulp. More? If you're pouring. I refilled it with a smile. He accepted but didn't drink. The silence stretching between us. Emily. He finally said, staring at his hands. If I hadn't broken up with you before study abroad, would we still be together now? I shook my head honestly. I don't know. Michael sighed. We dated over a year. Yet I feel like I never really understood you. It's not that I opposed your fellowship, I just kept feeling us drifting apart. He turned, face eerily calm. When exactly did I start falling behind? Selecting an orange from the fruit basket. I tested its ripeness. Not falling behind. We simply chose different paths with separate destinations. Some journeys aren't meant to be walked together forever. His laugh held bitterness. Then why chase me in the first place? I tilted my head. Mischief flashing. Why else? Because I liked you. Think I enjoy wasting time? Peeling the citrus released tart and sweet notes. Catapulting me back to sophomore year summer. That day our gym teacher was absent. Merging classes for drills. Skipping laps due to cramps. I lounged under trees until horrified whispers erupted. Boys returning first had spotted the period stain on my jeans. Flushed with humiliation. I crouched frozen until Michael shoved through the snickering crowd. What are you, Neanderthals? Did you skip basic biology? He whipped off his jacket, draping it around my waist. Need the nurse? Only then I noticed the angry red rash covering his arms. Allergies. He shrugged before I could ask. Not contagious. After that, our paths crossed constantly, him dominating basketball courts while I cheered anonymously from bleachers. Him trending daily on the campus confession page during freshman orientation. 3 years of stolen glances culminated in my confession. He didn't remember the jacket incident. I never reminded him. Our relationship thrived on contradictions, me squeezing study sessions between his spontaneous road trips. Him trading parties for library dates where I highlighted textbooks while he muted game sounds. We bent without breaking, until my exchange program application. Michael danced through life like sunrise, brilliant. Warming. Impossible to grasp. I raced toward horizons. Each academic achievement a stepping stone. He called it overcompensating. I called it catching up. The orange segments glistened in my palm like amber memories. You asked why I chased you? I met his gaze steadily. Because for 3 years before dating, I'd already been in love with you. Silence swallowed the admission. Somewhere beyond the hospital window, our younger selves still existed, the rash-covered boy offering kindness. The bleeding girl clutching borrowed dignity. 2 satellites orbiting the same sun, never quite aligning. He never explicitly said he disapproved. But between the lines, he kept implying I didn't need to work so hard. He made promises. Coaxed me. Urged me to lean on him. Trying to anchor me with affection. But I've known since childhood that others' love eventually fades, only my own strength could secure my future. At this crossroads, we ultimately had to walk our separate paths. After I finished speaking, Michael remained silent for a long while. His voice trembled when he finally asked, Emily, is there still a chance for us? I handed him the peeled orange and said softly, our time together was brief, but we gave it our all. No regrets, only well wishes. This life will bring many people and memories. As years pass, some will fade while others remain vivid forever. Michael, you'll always be the brightest youth in my memories. He nodded silently. When I stood to leave, he grabbed my wrist with red-rimmed eyes. Emily, is Ryan walking the same path as you now? After consideration, I smiled. Ryan has always been my guiding light. Outside, Lucas was nowhere in sight. Ryan sat reading research papers. I slumped into the adjacent chair and sighed. No wonder our senior said you'd work us to death. Ryan pocketed his phone, amusement crinkling his eyes. That dramatic? Not at all. I shook my head. Sometimes you really are like some kind of genius study machine. Guess what study machines need? His raised eyebrow made me freeze. I hastily produced another orange from my pocket, grinning sheepishly. Snack break? His gaze softened like spring breeze through willow branches as he accepted it. From Michael's stash? After that marathon talk, 2 oranges is fair compensation. We ended up at my mom's wonton shop after missing lunch hours, promising proper dinner next time. Post-rain air carried petrichor freshness as we strolled along damp sidewalks. When Ryan suddenly asked about summer plans, I assumed it was casual conversation. Traveling with Mom first. Then internship hunting. She's overdue for a break after all these years. My scholarship savings would finally let us breathe. But Ryan stopped walking, crystalline clarity in his voice. Could I see you during your free time? Each word hit like perfectly thrown baseballs. I stammered. Of course, I'll still visit the lab. Not the lab. His glasses couldn't mask the intensity in his eyes. Theaters. Beaches. Amusement parks. Anywhere. My cheeks burned. Just no roller coasters. Heights terrify me. His startled laugh echoed down the street. Deal. At graduation, Michael approached in cap and gown with hydrangeas. Congratulations, Emily. I plucked a hyacinth stem from the bouquet. Safe travels overseas. That afternoon, Ryan appeared at my dorm with a thumb drive. Potential internship matches. Review when ready. Clutching the drive, I teased. How do you remember everything? High storage capacity in the study machine. His deadpan delivery sparked giggles. Thanks, Ryan. His smile mirrored June sunlight. Happy graduation, Emily. We stood beneath the tree, slanted sunlight filtering through branches to warm my cheeks. I tucked the USB drive into my bag. Going out? Let me drive you. I hesitated, not wanting to burden Ryan, who'd been swamped managing multiple research projects lately. No need. It's close anyway. Ryan walked me out, his brow furrowing when I mentioned meeting someone unpleasant. Your father's current wife? He guessed. The truth spilled out as we drove how my mother's ankle injury came from that woman kicking over dumpling racks during her tantrum. Dad wanted reconciliation. His mistress retaliated by vandalizing Mom's shop. Ryan's quick reaction had limited the scalding damage that day. I threw iced coffee in her smug face at the cafe. Ryan tactfully leading her son away for cake. Next time it'll be boiling water. I hissed, watching brown droplets slide down her designer blouse. Her shrill laughter followed us out. That evening, Mom chuckled while peeling apples. Flour dusting her apron. Why would I want that cheater back? She nudged me playfully. Though I did wonder if his fortune might help your career. Mom. I snorted, a snot bubble popping as we hugged. Her arms felt different, stronger. Like she'd been lifting more than dumpling fillings lately. Ryan met me for dinner near campus afterward, our shoes crunching autumn leaves as we walked back. Under amber streetlights. I faced him properly. Thank you, Ryan, for everything. He smiled, breath visible in the crisp air. Your mom gives me free dumplings whenever I visit. How's that for repayment? When I promised him lifetime discounts, Ryan grew quiet. His gloved hand brushed mine. Emily, I want more than dumplings. I want decades. Fireflies blinked in the gathering dark as we stood there, my frozen fingers slowly warming in his grasp. So I hope you'll consider me as a person, not just my actions. The campus during graduation season was tranquil under the night sky dotted with sparse stars. Yet none could rival the starlight in Ryan's eyes. Ryan returned to the lab while Emily, retreated to my dorm with restless thoughts. After showering, I lay in bed scrolling through job postings on my phone when I suddenly remembered the USB drive Ryan had given me earlier. Plugging it into my laptop, I found not only company profiles and position descriptions but also an annotated spreadsheet detailing each role's requirements with his personal recommendations. My heart swelled seeing such meticulous preparation. Glancing at my phone 11:57 p.m. I hastily threw on clothes over pajamas and dashed out in slippers. Standing before the pitch-black lab building, I realized I'd forgotten to check if Ryan was still there. Patting empty pockets, I sighed no phone. Determined, I climbed to the third floor where the lab sat at the hallway's end. There he stood silhouetted against the doorframe, head slightly bowed in the darkness. Even without seeing his face, I knew. My brief calm shattered. "Ryan!" The unlocked door yielded as I pushed him inside, capturing his cool lips before he could speak. He froze momentarily before crushing me against him. My clumsy kissing made him chuckle lowly as he took control. The height difference forced me onto tiptoes until he pulled over a chair, sitting us down with noses brushing. His warm palm burned through my shirt at the waist. "Is this your answer, Emily?" His raspy voice curled around the nickname he'd rarely used before, sending shivers through me. Clutching his shoulders, I whispered, "I think you're truly right for me, Ryan. If possible, I want forever, not just temporary." His responding smile disappeared into a lingering kiss that left us breathless. Walking hand in hand toward dorms, Ryan suddenly asked, "What made you come tonight?" I considered. Maybe I've liked you longer than I admitted. It just overflowed. His grip tightened. "Why were you still at the lab? Overachieving even after hours?" I teased. He chuckled. "When you mentioned being just friends earlier, I needed space. Didn't want to hear rejection. Professor Perfect gets nervous?" I mocked. Amazed. Confident about research. Clueless about you. Come fall semester, I began grad studies while Ryan started teaching. His lectures perpetually packed with students and admirers. Sneaking into his class once, I barely noted his white shirt and wire-rimmed glasses before getting lost in his professional demeanor, so different from the man who wore my strawberry hair tie daily and kissed me breathless each night. When Ryan took me to meet his parents at Riverside Club, I finally understood his family owned the upscale venue. "Why grind academic papers when you could inherit this?" I asked. He paused, genuinely puzzled. "But research is fun. Some people truly love learning." As I prepared for an international competition that could boost my career, Ryan's annotated notes already filled my desk, our shared madness continuing. "The trip is going to take quite some time, 3 months. This time, I brought my mom along. I'll be competing, and she'll be sightseeing. When I'm not busy, I can join her for some tours." That day, as I left the research institute, it was snowing outside. I took out my phone to record a video and send it to Ryan. A familiar voice came from behind me. I think it's beautiful too." I turned around. The full moon hung in the sky as Ryan approached through the snow, wearing a black coat. Delicate snowflakes swirled behind him, forming a breathtaking scene like a painting. Suddenly, I recalled that line from Yu Guangzhong's poem, "He walks toward me with a smile, between the moonlight and snow. He is the third kind of sublime beauty." I froze for just a moment before rushing toward him. "Why are you here? Weren't you swamped with work?" Ryan pulled me into a tight embrace, murmuring against my neck, "I wanted to see you. So I came." The night was deep, the moon radiant, and snowflakes danced across the sky as Ryan and I walked slowly together. He had come through the snow, and now we returned home under the same moonlight. And